Hi, my name is William, and I'd like to firstly thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and I would really appreciate it and be very grateful if you can watch it right through to the end. I believe it will touch you deep within your heart, and this will have an impact on you. First question I'd like to ask is for the people out there watching, if you have directly been affected or know anyone that has been directly affected by suicide. Whether you answer yes or no is not important. What's important is the statistics I'm about to tell you. According to the Bureau of Statistics in 2016, 8 people per day take their life in Australia. Out of that figure, 6 of those are men every day. So over 2,100 men take their life each year. On top of that, 240 people will attempt to take their life every day. That's another 210 men every day make genuine attempts upon their life. The reason the statistic seems high among men is because 75% out of all those figures, more than 75% are men. Now, there are men's organisations out there in this country, obviously not cut in the mustard, so to speak, because the figure keeps growing every year. I looked at the Bureau of Statistics for 2012, compared them to 2016. The numbers are growing astronomically. In 2018, when the statistics are released for 2020, I believe, we will see they have increased again. I aim to reverse those statistics through Blokes Space and the organisation that I am trying to raise money to get off the ground. Our goal will be to reduce the suicide rates among men and close that gap between men and women's suicide rates. Now, before I go and tell you further about my organisation and what our main goals are and what's available and what will be available to men and how they differ to the current organisations that aren't getting the job done, I want to give you a little background on my experience with suicide. Now, in 2015, I was on a phone call one day for a job interview, and my phone beeps a couple of times. Over the course of about 40 minutes of this phone call, it beeps and beeps. And when I get off the phone, I get there and check the last message that I receive. It's a message from my father. And in that message, it says, my little sister, I won't mention her name, it says, when so-and-so gets home, don't let her enter the garage. And that my dad's life insurance papers and everything else that I need for his affairs were in a certain place as well. Now, not the type of message anyone likes to receive. Anyone that's ever received one of those messages where someone says they want to end their life. I raced to my father's place, calling the ambulance, and I didn't even know my dad's address. So I hang up the phone to the ambulance, angry, distraught, worried. Every emotion's going through my body at that time. I ring my partner and she gives me my dad's address. I ring the ambulance back and everything else, and I'm racing to my dad's house. I call my brother-in-law who lives, or not lives, he operates a business only 2 minutes from my father's place, and ask him to go check on my father and see if he's okay. The one thing to remember out of all this, from the point that my brother-in-law gets to my father's place to the point that I get a message saying my dad's going to hang himself, about 40 minutes has passed by. I get to my dad's place and I see police there and ambulance and everything else. I see my brother-in-law standing there, heading towards the ground, and a person that works for him in hysterics crying on the ground. And my instant thought is that my dad hung himself. But I wasn't satisfied in knowing that and needing to see for myself. I get there and I start walking towards my dad's garage, pushing past everyone, and I see my father dead on the ground. And the weirdest thing out of all of it, I didn't even cry. I collapsed in rage, screaming, hysterical, in shock. I couldn't believe what I'd seen or what my dad had done. I was angry, sad, upset, extremely angry at my father for what he did, because the instant thought through my mind was, how dare my dad do this? That that he mustn't love us enough, me or my sister or his grandkids, enough to stay. This is the first time I've really spoke about it. I've spoke to a psychologist and stuff. You think you get past things, you don't get past this, and you don't ever get past these sorts of things. You forgive the person for them, but you don't get past them. It's an ongoing thing, and I'm past it, but it still upsets me to this day. I can talk about it a bit easier, but yeah. But what I went through that day is one of the biggest reasons that I want to start this organisation, so people don't have to go through what I went through. There's thousands of people in Australia that go through it every year. Their son, their daughter, their father, their brother. Sorry, this is men's related, I'll start again. A son, a father, a brother, an uncle, a grandfather. All those are lost through men's suicide. And the families, the sisters, the brothers, the mothers, the fathers, the aunts, the uncles, the grandparents, the kids, the grandkids. Everybody has to deal with it after they're gone. And I don't want people to have to deal with that no more. I want to actually stop people ending their life through my organisation. If I stop one person killing himself, I succeed. If I don't, I fail. But where there's failure, I find another way to succeed. But I aim to succeed in every way possible, not just with one. I aim to save many. If I go Australia-wide, my goal is to have facilities Australia-wide eventually. I don't want to see the number being six every day. I want to see it get to 0 one day. I believe it's possible, because anything in life's possible. My father, I'm very thankful he survived. If he didn't have a defibrillator, shock in his heart, an hour and a half of resuscitation, they wouldn't have revived him. He suffered brain damage as a result. For years I hated my father for what he did. My relationship's never been the same because of it. It's only 3 years after the event that I actually can look my father in the eyes, and I love my dad with all my heart, I always have. But I have forgiveness for what he did and understand why he did it. I know why he did it because I've been through it. That brings me to the next part of my story. I made an attempt on my own life not too long ago. My life was going pretty good. So that's one thing with depression and suicide. Those that do it, it doesn't discriminate against people. You could have a great life. One example, and he's one of my favourite ever comedians. I love comedy. Robin Williams had the world at his fingertips, suffered manic depression, and took his own life. It was a very sad moment the day I heard that he took his life. But I also know that being that I'm a person that's gone through, been diagnosed with a major depressive disorder and take medication for it, that depression doesn't discriminate. And when you are in that state, that no matter what you think about, nothing can bring you out of it half of the time. And the only thing that usually does bring you out is support, having the right support. You can have family, you can have loved ones, everything. But at the end of the day, a lot of the times, those aren't the people that get through to you. You feel alone, you feel unloved, and you take your life. I attempted to take mine by hanging myself off a door handle with a tie around my throat. I passed out, and I was only lucky that my son came home and found me. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here right now, and then my son would have experienced the same thing I experienced when I see my father dead. I reckon a couple of minutes and I wouldn't have been here. Maybe shorter, I don't know. I don't remember doing it. I don't remember why I did it. All I know is that it was a thing that I never ever want to do again, and no one in my family ever think that I would ever do that again. I get down now, I play music, try to get out of state of mind. I have the right support group and support to seek help and everything else, but a lot of men out there don't. Now, the services that are available, like I said earlier, men's sheds, they're aimed at guys that are 40 plus. Guys can go to them, they meet once a week. They're all retirees that are there. You go to another one, Black Dog Institute. That's a men's orientated organisation for men's mental health and suicide prevention. But to do their programs, I've looked into their programs. You've got to have a diagnosis of depressive disorder or bipolar or mental health disorder before you can even be accepted into their programs. Now, that's no good. One reason I tell you straight away, and I'll ask you, how many guys do you know that are going to go there and go to their local GP to get a diagnosis of a mental health issue, especially when the stigma that's associated with mental health to begin with? And not only that, having a mental health issue for men is still veered at being weak. And that's how a lot of guys think. It's a weakness. So guys aren't going to go get a diagnosis. And another thing as well, as it is, guys don't like to share their problems. They will share them with other blokes, yes, but they don't like to share them, period. They don't like to share them with people they know, for starters, because word gets out usually. So they confiding in a stranger is a bit easier because they know, oh, well, this person's not going to judge them, or they don't know them, so they're not going to go tell anyone about them either. Now, and another example of an organisation, Beyond Blue, that used to be a male-orientated organisation when it first ever started. I talk about male organisations and people still mention Beyond Blue to me, and I'm like, no, that is family-orientated now. That's a family counselling, family support service nowadays, and people still think it's men. It's not. And many men know this. Now, I've looked into the support services. What I aim to provide through Blokes Space, which is what I'm raising funds for, is unlike any other. To look at it from a very simple perspective is youth drop-in centres used to give places for youths to go so they don't get in trouble and they can go and relax and hang out and see and have friendships and form friendships and do stuff and everything else. I'm looking at creating more or less an adult male version of that. At Blokes Space, we aim to have provide services and facilities for guys. Some of those facilities, I'll give you examples. Leisure facilities are like pool table, foosball table, arts and crafts where you can paint, draw, maybe make something, darts, movies, games, board games, puzzles, anything you can do to take your mind off stuff, they'll be there to occupy you. Say a meditation relaxation area so you can take a break and relax and peace and quiet or whatever. Barbecue so we can have cook-ups on weekends and stuff like that. There'll also be like weekend on, say, get-togethers. Like if there's guys that have got kids, we'll go to the park, play cricket, go down the beach, play beach cricket, even soccer, activities like that. Once a month, I'd love to get there and organise guys like go kayaking trip, go camping trips where you can go kayaking, go on a retreat, golf days, fishing charters, all those sorts of things. So like it gets blokes out of their, to say it in a simple way, a crappy situation, whatever it may be that their mind's in, getting their mind off all that crap and come in so they can get there and escape and actually find a life, form some new friendships, form a great support group, a peer group where they can come to and relax. There's no judgment. You're more or less, we have your back. We're here for your support. We're here for you, bro. What is it? Come here. Join us. We're a group that will make, it's to make them feel better, to give them a life, so to speak, again. Because a lot of guys, if you look at a lot of suicides, the biggest reasons are relationship failures and family breakdowns. Two of the biggest reasons. The guys have got no life no more. They feel like they've got nothing. And they'll have, if they've got family or whatever and got their kids and their kids go home, then they come home to an empty house. So they're depressed as anything. We want to give them as much distraction as possible. And then if you keep doing that and over time you repeatedly do that, it becomes a routine. So it gets them back into having a routine of having a life again, because the whole routine was disrupted, that put him in the state in the begin with that led to him wanting to kill himself. So this is what we aim to do. Like, I'm about to read something off my computer for you, just so you can understand. This is my mission statement that I've written for the organisation that I'm building, and this is what our core value will be. Blokes Space will welcome all men, free from judgment, to feel safe and loved within Blokes Space facilities. No person shall make another man feel unloved. All staff and clients will show support for their fellow man. We shall support and give help to all those that seek our help, doing so with the love and admiration that they have decided to seek help. And that's the key. Love and admiration for the guy that has decided to seek help, because no matter what, everybody must feel welcome. They will always feel loved within our facility and cared for. One of the biggest slogans that I will have, and that will be on the company's shirts and everything, you're not alone, because I want every male to know, and anybody that suffers depression, that feels alone, you're not alone, because there are thousands in this country that feel just like you. And that's what we want them to understand as well, that they're not alone. They're not unique. They're not alienated. And they're not weird or different to anybody else at the facility. No matter whether you have a great life, whether you have $1 million, whether you're broke, whatever. As we said, I've said before, depression and all that doesn't discriminate. So no matter what lifestyle you come from, you are not going to be judged. You are equal. We all have the same problem. We all don't want to feel like this no more. And that's the thing. Everybody wants to feel better. And that's what the facility will aim to do. I want to reduce the suicide rates in the country. I will be starting with one facility. If things go great, I hope to take this nationwide in a very quick process in the end. If that happens, great. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But what is it? It will grow. I know once I start one place, and start one facility, it will take off. All it takes is one to grow to many. And I believe within 10 years, I can make more of a dent than all the other organizations that currently exist combined. I could make more of a dent in the suicide rates in Australia among men than the current organizations do. If you've watched this video right till the end right now, you will see what my passion is. Hearing what my organization aims to provide, you would believe exactly the same thing I believe when it comes to those statistics, that I will be able to, and Blokes Space will be able to reduce those statistics in time. Now, in order for this to occur, this is the biggest key. I need to raise the funds. Although I am putting my own money into this and my own time, and I am putting a lot of time into this because I will be running this facility, I also need to fundraise for it. I need your help more than anything. I need Australia's help, everybody's help, not just people that have been touched by suicide, but everybody's dealt with depression at some point in their life. The 90+% of people deal with depression at some point in their life. I need help from Australia to make this possible, because not only do I need to raise the funds to get a facility to start with, I need to be able to stock the facility with what I promised to provide to men. I also wish to provide transport for those people that don't drive or have access to public transport from low socio-economic areas and stuff like that can't get to facilities. We want to be able to give them the ability to get to the facility still by picking them up. For professional services, I also need to provide that sort of all that stuff to men as well. So I need your help. I'm trying to raise the amount that I've set to raise. Seems like a large amount, but in the scheme of things, when it comes to if it saves one life, I'll tell you the amount. My initial fundraiser, my goal is $200,000. I believe ultimately a lot more than that can be raised. It doesn't need to be one facility that opens. We could open many if it takes off, but I must succeed with one facility first. I got to start with one at least. Now, the goal I set might seem like a lot, but if it saves one life and that statistic does not grow by one day, it's worth every cent that's donated. Sorry. I'll give you another statistic. Suicide in Australia costs Australian taxpayers and the government $1.4 billion a year. I'm trying to raise 200,000. When you compare, that's a massive amount, and 200,000 seems a very little amount. Now, the next cost, I would like to say 1.4 billion is nothing, because the cost to families and the suffering that happens in Australia due to these over 2,000 suicides a year, the trauma and the suffering that occurs for the rest of those people's lives far outweighs the $1.4 billion. And the money I'm trying to raise is minuscule in comparison. And say over 2,000 die a year, you think there would be 10,000 people suffering as a result of those people gone. That's just in the small immediate family circle. If you look on brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, you'd have 50,000 people in a year. In 10 years, that's 500,000 people suffering. That's a lot. So what I'm trying to raise, very minuscule, as I said. But yes, that's what I'm trying to do with Blokes Space. And as I said, I need your help, Australia, and I need as much help as possible. I don't expect people to donate a large amount. I don't expect you to donate your life savings, a weekly wage, or a day's wage, or a day's salary, whatever you want to call it. It only takes as little as $1, $10, $20, whatever you can afford. It doesn't need to be a mountain. It only needs to start off as a little amount. And with everybody's help, we can make it grow well beyond 200,000, I am sure. We could turn one facility within a year to 5 to 10 to 20 to nationwide. I believe this. I believe the cause and believe everything that what is aimed to do is worth every cent. And I ask you as well to see it in your heart and believe it with me. But yes, I must stop now. I realise it's 25 minutes and I've taken up enough of your free time, and I really appreciate it. As I said at the start, I will be very appreciative, and I will be very grateful if you can watch this right to the end. I hope you can now see why I said at the start that this will touch your heart and have a deep impact upon you, because this is my dream. This is my baby, so to speak, and I won't stop until I achieve it. And but even though, as I said, I need your help to achieve it, no matter what, help me to help reduce, or I should say, I need your help to help reduce the suicide rates in Australia. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it, and I am deeply grateful. Take care. Bye.